Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. It's a big day. It's Christmas Eve.
Yep.
So we're on theme today. We're going to be talking about getting rid of Christmas decorations, maybe downsizing that collection a little bit as you get through the holidays and start packing them back up. I'm Heather Fisher.
I'm Jody Roscoe.
And
I think this is like probably one of the more emotional ones, even for people who aren't necessarily really sentimental about everything. Sometimes those holiday memories that they have are really, really strong. And so there's so much intertwined with the Christmas or holiday decorations that it's harder to let them go.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, good, bad, or otherwise, our holidays are such the definition of family togetherness and traditions and habits and, you know, everything we do year after year. And so keeping that the same or fighting against something from earlier definitely packs an emotional punch.
Yeah, my mom loved Christmas and she decorated every inch of the house with Christmas. We had a lot of traditions, and that's something that I carried over to my family. And so, you know, some houses have all of those traditions. Some houses are like, yep, nope, we don't do any of that stuff. We have Chinese for Christmas and, you know, whatever. And whatever it is, it's all the memories you have, right? And they're all important in however that looks, right?
You either want it to be exactly the same or totally different than where those memories live, and, you know, you're basing it. And then once you've done it, because it goes in and out of being packed away and coming out each year, it is kind of fun to see the same stuff over and over again because it was out of mind for a little bit, and then you're like,
fresh.
Oh,
I loved that.
Yeah, it's familiar and fresh, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and it's a big business. So we have a stat here that the National Retail Federation reported that Americans spend over $63 billion a year on holiday decorations and related items. That is insane.
It's crazy. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's earlier and earlier. It's the big question of when. I'm an after Thanksgiving decorator.
Same. And I'm definitely not a before Halloween Christmas, which is when they put it all out now in the retail stores, and it makes me actually kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh. I was in a store, you know, where you could get a lot of holiday decorations on November 1st. Purely coincidental, did not think of it. I just needed something. And I was in there, and the Christmas section, everybody was ready to decorate that day, and the lines were long, and it was crazy. I gave up on the holiday thing I needed and left.
Forget it. Yeah, I mean, I know that's a big debate, and y'all can debate it with us, you know, whether you do before or after Thanksgiving or whatnot. And one of the girls on our team has said she decorated the day after Halloween. She was like excited. She has a newer house. She was like, oh, I want to get it up, and like super excited. None of it's wrong. So, but the question is, do we have more than we need? You know, what we also have another stat here that the average household keeps 4 to 6 bins of decorations just for the holiday.
Which I thought was funny. I mean, I read that stat and I'm like, oh, I'm above average on that because I think I have more than 4 to 6.
Same.
So I was like, oh, shoot, is this advice hitting me in the heart where I might need to get rid of some? But I don't know. I'll have to process that as we go on with our tips here.
And the third stat we have is that the storage companies say that the holiday decor is one of the top reasons people rent storage units to keep it. I always think about that when you know, one of our traditions is to drive around and look at Christmas lights, and some people have, you know, so much, and they must have a storage unit to keep it all in because they have, you know, every yard blow up or every
the blow ups must take up so much room. I don't have any.
I mean, they do kind of crunch down, I guess, without the air, but I mean, we actually have some really incredible talented people in our area that put up lights. I'm sure that that's the same everywhere, but that are really cool to see and put it to music and all the things. And I love their spirit and all of that, but they definitely need to have a storage unit to have that stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what we're talking about this being an emotional category.
Yeah, it really is.
Here's some of the reasons why, identity, this is how you've always done it.
Right.
So that's what it's like for Christmas at your house. You kind of adopt that role and keep it.
I think that's interesting too. When people move, and we see this, when people have moved, it's like they don't know where to put their stuff because it always goes back up. There's certain people that everything, like that is where that one ornament goes. Like every year that, like that Santa goes in that spot. And then they move and they don't know where it goes anymore. And so sometimes, you might have to, make the move and then decide what it is that does still go out and let go of the rest. But that always the same, right? It's identity of like what Christmas looks like at your house.
What it looks like, where it goes, exactly the same for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sentiment around the holidays. Your kids make things when they're little that come home as your Christmas gift, your holiday gift. And
the macaroni ornament.
Yes. I had a candy jar for years my mom kept. I made in like second grade, and it was like an old mayonnaise jar, but we did like the dough over the top of the lid, and then it had like unwrapped candies glued on there and everything. And
Yummy.
It was precious, but
I had one that my great grandma had made me, and she'd made it like it was like a clown or something, and so she had like a styrofoam ball on the top with like yarn hair, and then it was a package of Lifesavers in the middle, and then it was like legs, and so one year it had just melted into like the whole package of Lifesavers.
Oh my.
Body was like gone.
Yes. Well, I haven't seen my candy jar in years, so hopefully my mom made the good decision to downsize that without telling me, or I'll inherit it someday. But yeah, so there's a lot of things you keep because your kids craft at that time of year and gift it to you, and you want to keep that. There's some guilt. Some of it was given to you as gifts, and you feel guilt from other family members that someone passed it on to you, and now you feel
or
the
just
need.
inside yourself, not even, I mean, some of that's totally self-inflicted guilt, you know?
Yeah. And then pressure, if you are the place where people are coming to visit, oftentimes there's outside pressure that people don't even realize they're putting on you to, ask, where's, whatever ornament, where's this stocking, where's that? Because everybody's expectations roll into that identity of what Christmas looks like at your house, or Thanksgiving or New Year's, whatever those holidays look like, wanting it to be the same for themselves.
Right. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by it, or you realize you have, 20 bins of stuff, I think realistically, again, we're back to that 80-20 rule. You probably don't use all of it. I probably put out more than 20% of my bins, but I definitely don't put out 100%.
Well, I think in saying that is absolutely the place to start. This episode is out on Christmas Eve, and so if you're listening when we, put the episode out, your house is decorated. Start with your storage area. What didn't you put out?
Right.
And that's the place to start before you even start packing up what's out and what you loved this year. Take a look at what you didn't and why. Yeah.
So I think it starts like we always start with mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So is the holiday you're creating in your house the one you want now? Or is it like your holiday of the past, which if the holiday of the past is the one you want now, perfectly fine. Yeah. Like if you want that to recreate over and over and that's what gives you joy and peace, do that. Do it.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't want to put up the fifth tree because it's too much, maybe it is too much. And, I think sometimes we get exuberant in years, and we're like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and that's fine if you had the energy for that. And then sometimes as the future goes along, you aren't as exuberant, or you don't want to put up, as much, and that's okay to give yourself that permission to be like, I don't have to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key question, to sum up what you just said, is are these traditions bringing me joy or bringing me a burden?
Right. Do you feel obligated, or do you feel excited and happy about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And either answer is exactly where you need to focus.
Because I'm not advocating like, okay, let's downsize Christmas. Like, I mean, sort of I am, but only in a way of like, there's probably stuff you're not using, and that's the stuff to downsize. Because I think Christmas, like, it's so emotional, and or whatever holiday, if you have a different holiday that you practice, whatever those memories and those traditions are around it, keep those, because that's what makes the holiday. Again, it's the stories and the memories and those feelings that make the holiday, and which of the stuff that you have it makes that happen, and which of that stuff just you don't need. That's kind of where we're at with the holiday one.
Yeah, a right-sized holiday means the decorating isn't taking over the holiday itself. It's just, the background to set up for all of those family memories and times together.
Yeah. So what stayed in the bins? And zero guilt if you didn't put it out. If you're feeling guilt around it, just let that go. Just let it go. It's not necessary. It just really isn't.
Yeah.
A holiday season really should bring you joy. That is really what it's about. So guilt should not be part of it.
Yeah, you don't want to be so exhausted come the time for celebrating that from all the prep that you can't even enjoy.
Right. So what traditions still make feel true to the life that you're living now, or the life that you want to live, in the future? And if you have a big, collection of something, and you still want that, pick the top 5 of them, or whatever that is, and just be able to keep those and display those if that's what it is. If the whole collection's feeling overwhelming, if it's not because that's where it fits and it's amazing, then that's okay too.
Yeah, those collections get started so early that my youngest is 20 and she's already got quite the collection of nutcrackers, and that becomes what people give you and gift you. And
yeah, I think people get so excited when they're like, oh, she likes this thing. So I have a big collection of nutcrackers too, and some of them I really love, and some of them are just fine. They're just in there with the other ones, and most of them were given to me, and so I could definitely edit it a little bit and still have that feeling of them without having them all. But yeah, I actually had to tell people to stop buying it. Like, please don't, unless you find something really unique and amazing.
Yeah.
The same soldier one in different colors is like, no more of those. My dad bought me this one though, that it's a German girl in her little like outfit carrying beer, and I love that one.
Yes, there are some really unique ones.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch that you could get anywhere.
Right.
That could maybe downsize.
Right.
Yeah, so if we look at some different categories of what your holiday decor might fall into, there's some ways to group it in your mind as you're thinking where to start. And number 1 is the one to keep. These are the joy makers.
Like, if you can think, because I have all the bins, and I cannot think of every single thing that's in the bin, right?
Right.
But if you can, before you even open the bins for the holiday, if you're like, oh, I think of this and this and this and this and this, those are the ones.
Yes. For me, that's my ornaments. My mom got us ornaments every year, and they're all unique and special. They're not just colored balls or whatever. They're, meaning for each year.
Yeah.
And she kept such a detailed list of what year we got them and why that was what was chosen. And I treasure those, but there's so much other decor that for me is not holding that joy, but the ornaments and my box and my list from my mom, that, is something I love and have tried to pass that on. But I'm not sure that it even holds the same joy for my kids, because I didn't do quite as good of a job of making it as special as my mom.
Yeah, I don't know about that too, because same, like I got a lot of ornaments when I was a child, from my grandparents and from my parents. And the year that I moved out of my house, and my mom actually moved back. Oh, my parents left, like where I was living, and so it was my first Christmas not in my house, and my first Christmas like by myself, like.
Yeah.
And so my mom had packed up all the ornaments that were mine, and gave them to me, and I cried because like I decorated the first tree in my house and it looked like my tree at home.
Yeah.
And so that was special for me because I love that. My kids, I'm not sure, are going to feel that same way about the ornaments that I gave them, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because I did a similar thing, but I don't. They're just not not sentimental about that very much. I don't think they are, and
yeah, we all process it. I mean, I think that's a perfect example of what we say all the time. Our kids aren't going to want what we expect them to want.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be what their memories fall around. And
yeah.
There's some tradition you've done. I mean, knowing you, I would bet your kids love the experiences you've provided in, your countdown, your advent calendar of things you do.
Yeah.
That's their experience much more than the ornament
For
giving
sure.
being the highlight. So I think
That's so true.
They incorporate
Although
it differently.
my Nana needle pointed, and so she made needlepoint stockings every year for Maddie, and she adores them. Just absolutely adores them. And so she actually has a tree that's just them, and she just absolutely loves it. And so some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that category, the joy makers, that is the stuff that you find a way to fit it in and display it front and center. Let it bring you that joy year after year, and not even a need to think about getting rid of it unless it's, a giant blow up that you don't have room for. But
yeah,
the within reason, those are the things that we're not talking about downsizing those.
No.
The next category is tradition keepers. These are, more tied to rituals, maybe family gatherings, certain trays or servingware, just the things that go around the event of people gathering. I think you've mentioned it before on the podcast, but your mom had such an extensive collection of the Christmas plates and bowls, and I saw the collection. It was every piece possible.
Right.
And you did such a great choice on downsizing that when you wanted to keep some of that tradition, but not the bulk of it, and just keeping the salad plates. And so still being able to enjoy that throwback to the full Christmas collection with a little less. And I think this is the place where you can find those happy mediums where you save the piece of the tradition that still works for a new phase of life, but you don't have to save everything when the tradition itself has downsized by people moving away or moving to someone else's house, things like that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, some of the tradition keepers are, yes, for sure. Like if you had a cookie plate for Santa, or, whatever your traditions were that you created around keep that stuff for sure.
Yeah. And find a way that you're able to piece that down to a more manageable way. If you made all the cookies and had the plate from Santa, maybe you keep the plate and get some, cookies from somewhere else and bring that plate to your Christmas gathering with family. And, you're just changing it a little bit, but not keeping stuff for traditions that aren't happening at the same level.
Yeah. So category 3 is the someday I might use this. Now we're starting to get into the stuff that's like
never gets unpacked from the bins.
Yeah. If you didn't put it out last year and you didn't put it out this year, chances are you're not going to put it out next year.
Yeah. I think these can be items that aren't as unique from one another. This can be a lot of, you have way too many strings of Christmas lights, or you have extra yards of garland that you didn't put out. You might have at one time put out 3 trees and now you only put out 1, but you're holding on to the things not necessarily from attachment, but just from well, maybe next year I'll feel like 3 trees again, or maybe next year we'll get up on the roof and do the lights and add more.
I will say, if my mom passed away at Christmas time, and the next Christmas I really didn't want to decorate, and so I started to get out all the ornaments and whatnot, and I was really struggling. And I had, I start with these clear like balls that just, when you put them over a light, it glows. Like they're like, so the whole tree looks like, white glowing balls. And then I had these icicles, and I kind of I was like, I just started to do that. And Maddie was like, "It looks great, Mom. Like, it's so pretty." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm done." And so I would not have downsized my stuff that year, or maybe even the next year, if something has happened where you're just not feeling it. So that's my only caveat on that. Like, careful of that. If you're feeling that way, maybe you give it a year or 2 before you let some of that go, because now I'm back to like, okay, I can do that. But I did have a couple years, because of what happened and when it happened and the whole situation of it, where I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that, and that's a great tip, to just be careful of that time passing. If it's things that are not quite that sentimental reason, then of course, if you're not using as much.
Yeah. Yes, but if it's just in there, because I also have bins of stuff, so the bins would be in like a layer. Like, so you would use the first like 2/3 of the layer, and then whatever's laying there kind of in the bottom of it doesn't get used. That's the stuff that needs to like consolidate into bins and let it go.
Yeah, which is what we said at the beginning. The perfect time to know what that extra is to get that out of the house after you've decorated, before you're putting away, and just kind of think, why did I not pull this out of the bin?
Yeah.
And my house looks perfectly well decorated without it. Let's go to the donation.
Yep. And then category 4 is inherited and memory items. And this is the one that might make you cry if you're sentimental. These represent your parents or your grandparents or your family traditions. And, it's important to handle that with care, right? So keep the memories without necessarily keeping everything if you're not using it. Again, remember, we're always saying, if it's in a box somewhere in the basement, you're not creating new stories around it. It's not actually, when you open the box, you might be like, oh my gosh, this is so important to me. But if you aren't putting it out, it isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Yeah. I think this is a good category too, where, we do try to remind you that your kids aren't going to want a lot of stuff, but to always ask. I think this is a good category. If you're thinking like maybe you're okay to downsize some of this category, make sure you ask family when you see them. Take that bin to the holiday celebration and say, does anybody want some of this? Because this is a category where people like that nostalgia and might want to take a token from that to add to their own collection for the time being.
Right. So save the ones that are meaningful to you, and let the rest go. And I have another story about Mom on this one. I guess it really is so like family oriented with that. Yeah. But anyway, I took all her Christmas ornaments and Christmas boxes, and I just put them in a room in my house and shut the door. And this is our 4th Christmas, I think. Yeah. And I still haven't looked at them. So I'm about ready to do that now. But I knew I would want some of them, but I just could not make myself do it. So at some point I'm gonna get through those and and look at which ones are the most important ones to me, because I know there's stuff in there that I do want, but I would say probably 90% of it I do not want.
I think that the space from your grief too will make those decisions easier, because you'll be able to face the joy that they bring you without being, there's sadness there without your mom being here, but it's not quite so raw. You'll be able to really make great choices. So if you're listening and you're in that situation, we know this can be time when we miss family members that are lost the most. If you need that space, that's okay too, to take that time and revisit it when you can with fresh eyes, and just find the ones that bring you joy, and not have the whole experience just bring you sadness.
Right. Yeah. So inherited stuff is hard, and can be hard. And I'm not going to look through it with that filter of guilt that I should keep it all. I really want to look through it in a filter of these really remind me of Christmases with my mom, and certain specific ones that do bring joy when I look at it. Not I just have to keep it all because it was my mom's. Like I don't feel like that.
Yeah. You have to recreate your joy around it, not hers.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Okay. So and then category 5 is stuff that's broken or worn, or you feel back to guilty, that's outdated or damaged, and you just kind of, I'm going to glue that later, and you throw it in the bin and it never comes back out again.
The lights will never work again.
The lights aren't they are actually, now they're just made to be thrown away. Unfortunately, it's a very throwaway society. So I would, I would not be fixing the Christmas lights.
Yeah. So going through those categories, a little bit different way to attack each one, but hopefully that gives you, a little bit of distinction on how to treat each category and how to look at them.
When when I was growing up, we had this angel, and she was like from the 50s or 60s, and she was like a cone that was like a silk cone, and she had stars that were like glued on, that were probably like cardboard gold stars, and she had a little plastic head and a halo, and she played Silent Night, and so you twisted and she played Silent Night. And I loved her when I was a child. I loved her. And somehow, like, as life moved along, she got a little rough. And so one year I got her out and her head fell off. And she was just getting so rough. And I finally had to just let her go. Yeah. But I still remember her.
Yeah. You still have this. I mean, that's what we say. You have the memory and the story. And
she was too sad to look at
it
anymore.
Yes. I do have in my ornament box and all the ornaments I've collected, my youngest out of my 3 is the most sentimental. And I have a Ziploc bag of ornaments that are not allowed on the tree, much to her dismay. Some of the, just ratty, tattered ornaments, mostly, homemade ones, and I treasure them, but I've had to ban it. Like if it's in the Ziploc within the big box, like we can keep it for your memory, but it is not going on the tree. And
my kids are the other way. They're like, Mom, why are you putting that on the tree?
Yeah. I mean, I still have a lot of cute handmade ones and ones with pictures, and it's all very cute, but there are some that are not acceptable, and to her dismay. And so every year I find myself kind of trying to sneak another one or two in the bag. Sorry, Lauren, without her looking. And, that we have another layer.
I think what you need to do is get a Charlie Brown tree and then just hang them all on the Charlie Brown
maybe
tree
so.
In her room.
So.
In her room.
That would be the thing.
That would be hilarious.
Then we have the next layer, which are the ones only allowed on the back of the tree by the wall. And then there's the actual decorated.
The good ones. And that is something to think about too, because you know which ones you think are the good ones, and you know which ones you're like, we can put this on the tree, but
back in the back.
So that should help you decide. Necessarily, do you need to even keep the ones that go on the back of the tree, right?
Yes, yes. Okay, so if you're looking for a strategy, as the holidays wrap up and you're looking for some ways to how to tackle this instead of just shoving it all back in the boxes or leaving it up till March because you don't want to deal with it and all of that, here's some strategies for, the week or so after the holidays end. Set a bin limit. If you've got 6 bins, say I'm only packing back up 4 bins, and use that size parameter to downsize and have to make some decisions based on what fits. You can pack with a little more intention. I mean, some people are very organized. Some people are
throw it all in the bins.
Just get it in the bins and hope the lids close. So if it is a little more disorganized, by really sorting like things together, the same thing we talk about on many downsizing episodes, when you put all the like things together, it's much easier to pick this or that and to narrow the category down because you see it all together in one pile.
Yeah.
And then label that bin, keep it together in a bin, so next year it's much easier to manage.
Like only garland goes in the bin or whatever, or it's room by room. You could, this goes up in the living room or family room or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we've been talking about, the right now rule. If it didn't get displayed at all, those are the things to start with, to think about why, and to maybe just drive those straight to the donation center. If there's anything that you're thinking about with your mobility and safety, it's okay to do less. I mean, that should be your top priority. So if you've always put lights up on the roof and you just don't feel comfortable going up on the roof anymore, don't do that.
Right.
It's okay. Do something lower. Make sure you're not using tall ladders if you shouldn't be, just for the sake of decorating.
Yeah.
Those are the choices to make a priority. And then, honoring the home that you're in now. If you're in a new space, you still want it to function well for you and to be comfortable. You don't have to overload it with way too many decorations on display just because you've always done it that way. It's that refresh time of how can I make this space feel like the holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is an emotional one, so just be prepared for that. But there should be less emotion around the stuff that's not being put out and not being used,
Yeah.
Technically, unless you're just feeling guilty about keeping it. And then if you need somebody to give you permission to let it go, we're doing that. You have the permission, to let it go. Yeah.
And back to what we've said about other things, that if you're not unpacking it from the bin, but you're carrying that guilt, that's not becoming part of the next generation's stories or traditions. So that guilt is sitting there for no reason, because it's never going to be picked up as something that everybody wants to clamor over and have, because it's not part of their story and their memories.
Right.
So it's okay to let that go, and you've got more going on creating those memories.
Yep. So if you're trying to do this with your parents and their stuff, that can be super hard, especially if they're super attached. They don't want to hear from you, Mom, you got to let this go, or let's get on with this, or, be rushed through that, or anything. I think if that's something that you're doing with your parents, be prepared to spend some time on it. Be prepared to listen to their stories around the ornaments, or, a lot of times people will collect ornaments where they go places, and so they want to tell you the story of where they went and how they got it. And when there's 100 ornaments, that's not a quick process, and so don't feel like you're going to go over there and help them, quote unquote, help them do this in an hour or so, unless your parents aren't sentimental, and then they probably don't have this problem in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. And schedule it outside of the actual holiday day. You could gently start the conversation, but that would look like, hey, I know you worked so hard to decorate the house for all of us. I'd love to come back on, whatever day and help you pack it back up. And, at that time, if there's anything that needs taken to the donation center or taken somewhere else, I'd love to help with that.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to say until you come back, and then do that with gentleness as well.
Yeah. And where to donate? So I think that holiday decorations are one of the easiest things to donate because people want them, like that stuff. But also, I think that senior centers or places like that are always looking for. We do a lot of networking with that, and they're doing wreaths, or they're doing little Christmas trees or whatever. And you could decorate a whole tree or a wreath or something and bring it to them, and they definitely will use that.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a client tell us a few years ago too about a donation center on where we're near Wright Pat Air Force Base. So our town has a military base here. And they said that they love getting the holiday decorations donated because there's a lot of people living on base housing that aren't carrying around, storage units full of holiday decorations, and they're moving so frequently that when they can get those from the donation center there on base, they can decorate for their family, or maybe they're away from family and it's just themselves, but they can bring in a little bit of holiday decor and have that, give them that feeling while they're in this more temporary lifestyle that isn't their permanent home, and can add some holiday joy, and then they can donate it back, and
I love that.
It can be reused. So if you, that's a kind of outside of the box thing I hadn't heard of, but that might be something to look into if you're near a military base.
Yeah, and any other organizations, Ronald McDonald House, there's battered women place, there's youth places. There's so many places
that would love that.
Yeah. Or maybe just you have people that are moving into their first new house, and they don't, you have an extra Christmas tree, maybe they need it, so it doesn't always need to be, donation in that way, but just who needs it. Yeah, gifting or donation, right?
Yeah, a great place for those buy nothing community groups to just say, I have this, who could use this and love it.
Correct.
Yeah. So we hope that you guys have, first and foremost, a wonderful holiday.
Yeah.
And then as you're, packing up that holiday, we hope that you have gotten some tips to just make next year, a year from now, a little lighter and a little less overwhelming and a little less in storage, so you can just have an easier time decorating next time and enjoying. If you need any resources, you can always find those on our website, downsizingroadmap.com. And we're wishing you happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.